Good morning again, Scott here, known as Cantaloupe to some online, and I'm bringing another video to you on a subject that's interesting to me. It might be of interest to you or someone you know. And this is going to be a very cursory, superficial look at psychedelic experimentation. And I feel like there's a lot of opportunity for people to understand the subject better, and there won't be any recommendations in this video as far as personal practices or advice how to do it or what to do or that you should do it, that kind of stuff. It's just going to be kind of a recalling of my own personal experiences, and I do have personal experience with some things, not other things. I'll go over some of that in a short video here. So my first observation to share is that there's a great deal of confusion and misunderstanding about the benefits of psychedelics, the possible and potential benefits. That is, you hear people, advocates especially, say that they can expand your mind, they unlock, other realities, other perspectives, they make you open. You hear tons and tons of stuff, and while some of that might be true, it's definitely not true for everybody. I want to start with this, just a disclaimer, all caps disclaimer that some people are not wired for psychedelic use, period. And if you haven't seen somebody have a bad trip, or if you haven't, seen somebody just freak out on it, God bless you, and I hope that I hope you never do, but it can happen, and it's not healthy, it's not helpful, it's unproductive. So with that said, other people, on the other hand, are wired in a compatible way for some psychedelic use, I would say, in the right setting. And setting is huge. Setting is very pivotal. You can have a good experience or a bad experience just even being sober in a good setting or a bad setting, but especially if you're in a heightened state of sensitivity to your environment. And that's one of the things that happens when you take a psychedelic drug. There are obviously very different drugs. There's LSD, there's psilocybin, which is psychedelic mushrooms, there's peyote, there's mescaline, there's DMT, there's a whole constellation of different options, synthetic options and organic options, and they're not all the same. They're actually quite different, and I have not experimented with all of these. I don't mean to say that I've taken all these drugs, but I've taken some of them. And I have reached a point in my experimentation long ago, actually, not anytime recent, of diminishing returns. And this is my next point, that not only are they not for everybody, there's a very near point of diminishing returns where you're not going to continue to benefit from the positive effects of psychedelics. After, say, a handful of uses, you max out your open-mindedness, so to speak, or whatever you're looking for, and it becomes detrimental after that point. So some other things to think about are, the people you're with. It's the reason you're doing it to begin with. Is it, to escape something? Because that's never a good reason to take any kind of substance. If your goal is to feel better, maybe you should think more about the situation and the thing that's causing you to feel bad in the first place, rather than try to, kill the pain with the substance, because that never works out for the better. Also speaking from experience. So, however, there are, like I keep saying, benefits, possible potential benefits in certain people in certain circumstances where, and I'm going to get into that in just a second, where if you take one of the not harmful varieties of psychedelics, and I would say that there are some categorically harmful types. I'm not going to get too specific about that, but with some guided instruction, I would say, some very, old school traditional LSD might be one of those kinds that is helpful, given the other conditions I mentioned. Also, psychedelic mushrooms, psilocybin, that is, can give you insight into certain things. And I want to talk about that insight just a little bit. So the way it works is, for a long-lasting, like I say, long-lasting LSD and mushrooms typically last about 8 to 10 hours for a normal, like, human dose. You have to prepare to be down for a day at least, and then you kind of take a break from reality, so to speak. If you take more than just a tiny amount, it will dissolve boundaries in your mind between ideas, and this is one of the potentially beneficial effects where you can see connections where you did not see them before. You weren't able to see them before due to preconceptions that may not be entirely true. And it kind of exposes, given some time to reflect and introspect and a few different experiences, maybe not on the first try, but the second or third, you start to see things very differently. I'll speak for myself. It tears down the illusion of, there's a framework of illusions that we're all taught basically, that we learn, we pick up just from other people and by ourselves, actually, that the brain makes connections inappropriately sometimes. And when you start connecting things in a new way, you start to see something emerge from all of those new connections when you're experiencing psychedelics. And that is what I believe to be truth, actual objective truth. You start to see a picture emerge that reflects the actual reality, the one that we all share, that isn't subject to opinion or perspective. And it's you start to understand, at least I did, a lot more of how things connect together. And the more time you spend looking at these connections, the things start to, it kind of, it's like, what's the word I'm looking for? Not an emulsifier, but a solvent. It's a solvent for the rigidity of the framework of the mind. And like any solvent, it can be very dangerous, right? You don't want to be reckless or haphazard with chemicals of any kind, and especially when your brain's in the mix, right? So you probably want to be in a, like I said, a very stable, comfortable place, a safe place. You don't want to feel threatened or insecure or have the risk of being interrupted. And that by itself can be a huge challenge. So I don't recommend this. I just want to say one last time, I'm not recommending anybody try this stuff, but if someone were to do it anyway, the best case scenario is to, plan it, do it for the right reasons, first of all, and make sure that you're not going to be interrupted. You're going to feel good the whole time, hopefully. And, spend some time thinking really hard about what you have believed all your life about yourself, about the universe, and, almost guaranteed, if all of those conditions are met, you're going to come out with some kind of epiphany, and it might set you on the path to enlightenment. I'm not going to say by itself psychedelics or any of the practices that are connected, like shamanism and that stuff, will necessarily give you enlightenment, but it can show you the path to it. I think that it's an ongoing path, but I've said quite a bit in this video, so just short of 8 minutes. I hope everybody has a great day, a sober day, hopefully, and reach out with questions or comments to whitehotrobot@gmail.com. Thank you.